Good afternoon. This is our CraMS session this afternoon. CraMS is the acronym for Controlled Resolution and Manipulation System, a system of calling developed by Jerry Story. Today is March the 17th, 2006. The CALLERLAB convention in Los Angeles Marriott Airport Hotel. Pardon me? Today is, what did I say? 2006? Well, I haven't caught up yet. It's 2008, excuse me, thank you. And our theme for our convention this year is Lights, Camera, and Action. We have some action that we're going to present to you today, and we hope that your camera will be operating, your eyes and your brain, and that we hope maybe we can turn a light on for you somewhat with regard to what the CraMS system of calling is. And let me give you a little bit of history with regard to it. Some of you have heard me say these things previously. My name is John Jones, and I'm from Texas. And seated beside me is Jerry Story, and he's from both Texas and Tennessee and North Carolina and wherever he happens to hang his hat. But he lives a majority of his time in Texas, down in the valley, teaching and calling down there. In 1999, Jerry and Tony Oxendine and I started a caller school in Texas. During that first school, Jerry asked if he could show the participants in the school his system of calling. And we said yes. We had about 15 students in the school. After Jerry had been talking for about 30 minutes, Tony and I had no idea what he was talking about. So we got up and left the room. When we came back about an hour later, we saw a deer in the headlight look in those students' eyes like you wouldn't believe. The following year, Jerry asked if he could do the same thing, and we said yes again, and we sat in there for just a few minutes, and we still didn't understand what he was talking about, and we left. The same thing happened, and Jerry was frustrated that he wasn't getting his point across to these newer callers, especially the newer ones. We had some that were pretty experienced in there that had no idea what he was talking about. The third year, on the way to the school, Jerry was riding with me on the way down, and he started talking about it again. And I told him, I said, Jerry, I learned to sight call from Les Gocher back in 1957, and I've been very successful with what I have been doing for a long time, and I have no desire to want to learn a new system of calling. So please drop the subject. He said, let me ask you one more question. He doesn't give up very easily. He said, while you are sight calling, do you see, before you call, a pass-through trade-by to a left-ollie man? Does everybody follow me with that? You can visualize that. The sight caller, do you see that? And I said, sure, I see that all the time. He said, instead of doing a pass-through and a trade-by to an alley man left, do a slide-through and you have a right-hand lady line. And I didn't say anything for several seconds. And all at once that light turned on to me, that the right-hand lady is somebody that we had totally forgotten about in our choreography, especially as a sight caller. There are very few sight callers that can ever tell you whether you're dancing with the right-hand lady or not. Most sight callers, they certainly know when you're paired up with your partner, because you're watching a primary and a secondary couple. Most sight callers can tell you when they're paired up with their corner. Many sight callers can tell you when they're paired up with their opposite lady, and the way I determine that is if my partner and my secondary lady are diagonally across the square from their partner, then I know that everybody has the opposite lady. I don't have to know who it is. I just know that that's a fact. But that right-hand lady, there is no way I could ever tell you whether we were with the right-hand lady or not. And I said, you have just brought up something that I had not thought about, and something that we really need to think about. So that third year, I sat in on the entire session that he talked about with the callers in our school. And by the time he got done with that session, I had the deer in the headlight look in my eyes, and I had no idea what he was talking about. And then I told him, I said, before we're going to ever be successful with this, you're going to have to write it down. And he got a deer in the headlight look when I said that. He said, are you serious? And I said, yes. We've got to put it down on paper, or nobody's going to understand what you're talking about. And I said, I can see the need for what you are talking about, but we've got to get it in a simple form to where anybody can understand it. He started writing a paper, and the first paper he wrote, he titled it Sight Calling on the Fly. And he sent it to me, and after I got done reading it, I had no idea what he was talking about. And I called him and I said, that ain't good enough, do it again. Well, 2 or 3 weeks later, I get another paper. I could understand a little bit better. And I said, no, you hadn't got it simple enough yet. So he wrote it again. And in the meantime, with that, Deborah and I got married. And she'd been calling for a long time, nearly 25 years when we got married. And I started talking to her about it, and she got deer in the headlight look and had no idea what I was talking about, because she had been trained to be a sight caller right off the bat and had no earthly idea how to do what Jerry was doing. Well, we go to a weekend that he and Tony do over in Dallas each year, and Deborah started going with me over there, and then we started trying to figure out what Jerry was doing. And then he kept writing papers. We kept critiquing the papers. He and Deborah started writing the papers together. He would write something and send it to her, and she would wordsmith it and send it back, because she's very intelligent and can do that kind of thing. And Jerry and I, this poor old country boys. And so it took us almost 3 years to write the paper to where people could understand what we were talking about with this system of calling. The secret to the whole thing is the first word of the acronym of CraMS, controlled. Controlled resolutions and manipulation system. That's the name that Jerry and Deborah came up with, and we felt like it explained what we were talking about. In the process of putting this together, I knew we had to get some support for it, or we weren't going anywhere with it. One of the callers that had come to our caller school from Northern California got back home and put it out on a caller chat line somewhere of this system of calling that Jerry Story had done at the Lone Star Caller School, and it had 8 stations in it, and it was the dangest thing he had ever seen in his life. Bill Peters contacted me by email on computer, and he said, what is this thing you guys are talking about at your caller school? I wrote him back and told him I could explain it better in person than I could by email, and Deborah and I were getting ready to go over there, and so a couple of weeks later we were in Hawaii, excuse me, and we spent a week with Bill and Betty Peters over in Hawaii, and this was a couple of years before he passed away. And after he started realizing what we were talking about, he said, you know, this is almost exactly the way I learned to call. We have determined in this process that everything that we're doing and that we talk about and with the CraMS system is nothing new. It is not new at all. It was done many, many years ago. It's just put together in a little different manner. When I went to Les Gocher's caller school, he taught me how to sight call. It became very, very easy for me to learn and to understand, and I did it for many, many years. Then I found out that Jerry and Randy Doherty went to caller school at the same time 35 years ago. I went to caller school 50 years ago, and they went 35 years ago. And they learned to call a system of calling that is very similar to what we're going to be talking about today and what the CraMS system is. After we had talked about this for a while, I got a call from Randy Doherty one afternoon, and he said, "What are you guys doing?" And I said, "Nothing. You need a place to crash?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm on the way through." So he came by the house, and as soon as he got in the house and got sat down good, he said, "What is this CraMS stuff you guys are talking about and that Jerry is writing about?" So I gave him one of the papers that we had, that we were just about finished with, and he read that, and he began to look at it, and he said, "This is the way I learned to call. Very much the way I learned to call." What happened was, he got away from it, and Jerry didn't. He mostly stayed with that system of calling, but it was a little bit different. 50 years ago, when I worked with Les Gocher, he had the dancers in a promenade and don't slow down, and these are the exact words he said. "Girls roll back like a Chinese fan in promenade. You got a brand new man here, John, get him out." And he handed me the microphone, and I said, "I don't have any idea." And I handed it back to him. He said, "Here's you get out. Heads wheel around and square through 4. And a right to your partner, and you pull her through an alley man, a left at old left hand, and here we go, and a right and a left grand." 35 years later, when Jerry Story and Randy Doherty went to caller school, Earl Johnston put them in a promenade and said, "Girls roll back one man, here, Jerry, get them out." The very same thing, and the exact same get out was what they were given.
How?
Jerry said, "I don't know, here, you set it up, you get them out." So, the exact same get out at that time. You know, I still use it. I've been using it for over 50 years. Jerry still uses the other one. Les Gocher set the dancers up with the opposite lady and had, "Here, John, get them out." I said, "I don't have any idea." And he said, "Here's you get out. Heads wheel around and left square through 4 and give a left to the next and pull her through and a right to your partner and pull her by an alley man left." I called that one night. Deborah and Jerry Junk and I were calling a dance just a few years ago together, and he said, "Golly, where did you get that?" Well, I got it 50 years ago. But that was before we had trade by. We didn't even know what the word trade by was in those days, and so that's how we got out of it. They're still effective today. Now, as I was saying a while ago about identifying dancers, let me ask you this. If I have the 4 ladies chain 3/4 from a static square, who have I got? Who's in the corner slot? Who's in the right-hand lady slot? Very good. Who's in the opposite lady slot? Right-hand lady. This is the knowledge that we're talking about. You start applying those 4 things that we're talking about right there. The 4 primary stations of the 4 ladies that are in the square. Now, Jerry has called it stations. That's just his terminology. Usually you call it anything you want to. We don't care what you call it, as long as you start trying to use it. 4 years ago, the CALLERLAB Accredited Caller Coach Committee passed a resolution stating we have spent too much time and too long teaching callers to be sight callers. We feel like that we have not educated the callers well enough over the years and have spent too much time teaching callers to be sight callers and not really setting up and controlling and operating your calling like you ought to. After I started working with Jerry and finally understood what it was and we got the papers written, I started watching it and reviewing it and using it and working with it. And just a week before I became 70 years old, I called my first entire dance and used no site calling at all. I used the CraMS system. It was a mainstream dance. Called the entire dance, knowing exactly where I was all the time, and using some really neat setups and some really neat get-outs that as a site caller I couldn't do. It's been a good challenge to me. It has rejuvenated my calling again, and we have found some others that it has done the same thing for. Callers have been calling 30 to 40 years. And what's been fun and interesting about it, if I'm calling with another caller, I don't site call at all. I use the CraMS system because I don't care what the other caller does. And I will do what I want to do. And it was fun one night, or in a way it was kind of fun to me. It may not have been fun to Deborah, but we were calling together on a tip one night and doing patterns. She turned to me and she said, "I'm lost. Who are they with?" And I said, "I don't have any idea. I'm using the CraMS system." I had not looked at all. I didn't know a single pairing on the floor by sight, because when it came my turn, hopefully she had them back home. If she didn't, I'd say, keep on till you get it fixed. Get back home and then give me the microphone, and I know where I am and where I'm going to go and how I'm going to get there. Bill Peters' endorsement of this system, stating his statement was, "This may be the best system going today." We feel like it is. It's not the only system by any means, and we don't ask anybody to change what you're doing today and go into this overnight or try to. Take it one step at a time. That's what I've been doing. I'm still learning, still trying to learn. And I'll say this. I've watched Jerry call for 35 years. Many, many places, many different types of programs. He calls from beginners up through the challenge program. I've never seen him make a mistake. He always knows where he is and what he's doing. If he doesn't, he's got me fooled really bad, I can tell you for sure. But I've watched him time and time again. And the entire floor can break down except the very back square, and he'll still resolve the square because he knew where he was when they broke down. And that's what's been really interesting about it. Randy has had a lot of good ideas and developments with regard to our program, and he has helped us present this program 2 or 3 times. And so he's been using it, and perhaps he can give us some of his thoughts and ideas too. But I'm going to stop at that point, and I'm going to let Jerry take over, because we're going to get a square of dancers. We need a number 4 man. We need a number 1 lady or man. We need a number 2 and a 3. Rich, if you're going to dance,
let's go ahead and get some more couples up
We
here.
need another man over here on number 3. Somebody come help us dance, and we're talking about right now. Don't do it tomorrow. Thank you for helping. Just slip the pennies over your top. You don't have to tie them. They will stay in place by just draping it over you. Try to be man, woman in each position if you can, please. Number 1 over here. Thank you.
There's one entire paper that's really devoted to this portion of CraMS. There's four places that the dancers can be. That's it. And when we say that there's 16 stations, we're talking about the 4 primary stations. There's only 4 places that the dancers can be at any given time. We're talking about that plus in and out of sequence, and then if you chain the ladies. If you add all that together, it's 16 total different lines of 4 or different boxes. All right? And now the secret is to be able to recognize those 4 places while you're calling. And you can use the same methods that you use for site calling. You pick your number 1 and 4 couples, if that's who we want to use. And we're going to take a look at the right-hand lady box that John was talking about. Head square through 2. Well, we're looking at our right-hand lady. Slide through. This would be what we would consider a primary right-hand lady station. Right and left through. This would be in sequence. But here's the beauty of, I think, of this system anyway, because I don't have to worry about sequence. And that's always a scary thing for site callers, is getting them crossed over all the time. Well, with this, we don't have to worry about it so much, because if from this line of 4, either in or out of sequence, it's going to be that get out that John was talking about. It's either going to be a square through 4, right to the partner, pull by, or a square through 2, right to the partner, pull by. And all I have to do to check sequence, which it's not really checking sequence, I just see where the paired couples are. And remember, sight callers learn that a paired couple has to be beside you. And in CraMS, we teach you that paired people can be anywhere. They can be across from you here. They can be diagonally. It teaches you to spot the pairings. Instead of you physically having to pair them up, look before you leap, in other words. So from here, if I see the ends, and I know I'm in a right-hand lady station over here, then all I have to do is square through 4. And that would be the right to the partner pull by. Right and left through. If I were to end here, if you want to call it checking sequence, you'd notice that the paired people are in the middle. And to get them back home, I've got to get them back across the street. For those of you that's been to caller schools, you know what a chicken plucker is. That's all a chicken plucker is taking them back across the street so I can see that it's a 2. Correct? You follow me? Square through 2. Right to the partner, pull by, Alderman left. That was before we had trade by, you see. But you know, that's still a good get out rather than trade by. I like it a lot better, to tell you the truth. Okay, so now if we add a little bit of sight calling to it, just one couple sight, follow one couple around, it's amazing the things that we can do with this now that we know where they're at. Head square through 2. Slide through. Now all you got to do is take a picture of 2 of them. And let's just take a picture of these 2, or you follow whoever you want. I'm just going to take a picture of these 2 right here. I know that I'm over at my right-hand lady. So now, as long as I don't do something stupid like take 2 people across the center and then change my phaser, I'm going to be in good shape. Now, you can do that later on when we get to a little more advanced stages of CraMS. You can go from one station to another, and just work it all, back and forth. But right now, all we want to do is just one couple sight. Watch one couple and then move them around. Now, here's where most callers fall down, and we're going to get into this in a minute. This is where we need to teach you how to theme. Theme little things that you want to do, a mainstream call or something like that. Pick out something you want to workshop, or show them a little curveball, and start theming it in different quadrants around the floor. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. Right now, let's just call some things without taking them too far away. Past the ocean. Got her by the right hand. Good shape, right? Swing through. Oh my gosh, I lost her. Boys trade. Oh, found her. All right. Boy run around a girl. Now, that's enough in that quadrant. Let's move them on to some more people to dance with. Couples circulate. Bend the line. Right and left through. I've got her, right? Flutter wheel. I lost her. Yeah. Oh, reverse flutter. Oh, I got her back. And let's move on to another quadrant, and for those of you who don't know what invert and rotate means, it's a star through. From a box of 4, it would be a star through, pass through, bend the line, star through. It rotated your square, plus it chained the ladies for you, okay? Or it inverted them. The heads would now be paired and the sides would be paired before. So I like to use tag the lines to invert and rotate. So pass through, here's my invert and rotate, tag the line, face out, bend the line. I still have my 2 people together, don't I? That's all I'm really worried about. Okay, so it's time for the get out now. I've danced them all around the floor real quick in 3 different quadrants. Now, for my get out, all I have to do is it a 4 or is it a 2? It's 4. They're on the end, so see, they got to come 4 hands back to the outside to get to their partner. So it's a 4. Square through 4. Right to your partner, pull her by. Alderman left. Box the net. Girls, star left. Boys, circulate. Slide through. All right. Now, we can use the same method and start theming. And here's where when I was in Germany doing this a few years ago, a couple of the Danish callers caught on very quickly. And they come up and they said, we really like it, and we can see the control of it. We never get lost anymore, but we're finding that we can't call as interesting material or the harder things that we want to call. And my answer to them was, are you theming? And, of course, they didn't understand. So I explained what theming was. And they come back the next year after they learn to take and theme little pieces of their hash. They come back and they say, it made all the difference in the world. Now I'm calling with a purpose. So the idea is to pick out a call that you want to theme first. Let's say cross run, for example. All right. Well, I take a call and I think of the way that it's normally used. And then I think of a way that it's not used so much would be better for me. If I can show them something they haven't seen. So if I'm going to do cross run for a workshop, I'll probably have the ends doing the cross run to a center spot, just because it's that much different. But I would apply the same method. I would go directly to my right hand lady. Now, of course, I can go to my corner and do the same thing, or I can go to my opposite lady and do the same thing as well. But let's save that for later. Let's go to our right hand lady again. Head square through 2. Slide through. And here's where we take a snapshot. Click, click. I got two people in my mind. I'm going to exercise the theme. The theme is cross run. All right? I want to theme this in as many quadrants as I can real quickly. I want to theme it here and there and yonder. I want to move the dancers around, basically. And after I theme in each one of them spots, then we're going to search for the get out, and we're going to decide, is it a 4 or a 2? So I'm going to theme, plus I'm going to use a little isolated site. Just watch these two people and make sure I don't take them too far apart. If I do, I'll put them back together. When I send them over to another quadrant, I'll take them together. Pass the ocean. Swing through. I lost her. Girls cross run. Go get between the boys. Boys, let them in. I found her. Girls run around the boys. All right. Bend the line. Now that's enough right there. I themed it. That was, I'm purposely calling that. Knew what I was going to do when I had a plan when I started. So I'm going to move on to another quadrant. Pass through. Tag the line. Face out. Bend the line. That's Jerry's what? That's Jerry's invert and rotate. I just like that. I use the other one too. Star through, pass through, bend the line, star through. And there's lots of other ones that you can use as well. Let's incorporate our theme again. Pass the ocean. Swing through. Girls cross run. Don't forget, boys, let them in. Girl run around a boy. Bend the line. And let's go to one more quadrant. Pass through. Wheel and deal. Centers wheel around. And let's go for the theme one more time, and then we'll work for the get out. Swing through. And I'm going to see if they've learned it now. Just that quick, I've actually workshopped the call for them, you see. I did it the first time, told them, let the girls in. Did it one more time. Hey, boys, don't forget to let the girls in. Now we're going to see if they learned it. Girls cross run. They've learned it by now. Girls run around the boys. Now all I got to do is match my people back up, don't I? Boys trade. Bend the line. Is it a 4 or a 2? How many is it going to take to get these couple to the outside? There's my paired couple. So 1, 2 slots. That's a 2 slotter. Yep. Everybody agree? That's a 2. Call her a 2 banger. Here we go. Square through 2. Right to the partner. Pull her by. Alaman left. And how lucky can you be? We're at home. You got a 25% chance of that happening, I guess, All right. Let's get a little more structured. I'm going to have to get my glasses on now. Hold on. This is terrible, I know. Now we want to go for different get-outs. We're going through this really quick, I know. I'm starting to see just a little bit of a glazed look in some of your eyes. Is everybody kind of following along okay so far? Yeah? Because the only thing now that we can really interject is some more get-outs, you see. But eventually, as you work this CraMS system and you learn the relationships, and that's the part of phaser. Y'all know what phaser is? Formations, arrangements, relationships, and sequence. The hardest one of that is the S for sequence, but the one that we forgot about is relationships, is the R part of calling. And with sight calling, we've just shied so far away from knowing who we're dancing with all the time. And boy, if you know that, it takes the guesswork out of it. So now we're going to insert a get out. Let's say the get outs circulate once and a half, slide through your home. That's the get out that we want to work for. Now, in order for this get out to work accurately, it must be in a corner station in a specific geographic location of the square half stirred. While there are many ways to engineer this, let's just pick one and get this plan going. All right? Heads, make a left-hand star to your corner. Do-si-do. Don't touch her. To your corner. To your corner. Do-si-do. Don't touch her. Ocean wave balance. That's a beautiful thing. Swing through. All right. Girls cross run. Boys, let them in. Girls run. Bend the line. Pass the ocean. Are we back to a zero box wave? And we just said that for this get out to work right, the square had to be half stirred. So that's what we're going to do right now. Circulate twice. There's my half stir, right? Okay. So we're actually ready to do the get out right here. But before we do, why not do our theme one more time? Swing through. Girls cross run. Girls run. Bend the line. Pass the ocean. A little zero. Didn't do anything, but it stuck with the theme. Right back where we were, ready to execute the get out. Circulate once and a half. Meet your partner. Slide through. Okay? So, you build your whole dance on this premise. Now, it takes a while. Like John said, you're not going to run home and start doing this because for those of you that have called for a long time, you've got a bag of tricks, and you throw those bag of tricks in with your sight calling, and our chances are, if you've called for quite a few years, you're actually already calling like this. You just didn't know it. The light's going to come on for a lot of you and say, well, geez, that's kind of how we call. I mean, me too. But I never knew how to explain it before, and now we're finding out a way that we can explain it to other people, because I see callers going away from caller school saying, and actually they come up to me and to my face and said, you don't use invert and rotate. You don't use chicken plucker. I go to your dance and I never seen you once do that chicken plucker thing, right and left through and pass through and trade, bind, and right and left through and pass through. And you know what? That's such a compliment to me, because that means I'm doing my job. That means I'm disguising what I'm doing. And if I can fool them, I can certainly fool the dancers. If you can fool the callers, you can certainly fool the dancers. The basic invert and rotate, and I want you to watch this, because this is something, if we got time, I got to get to this other thing too, but head, step in and face your corner. Basic invert and rotate, all right? Notice that they're at their corner now, yeah? And the paired couples are the black and the blue, okay? The invert means after we're done with this sequence, these guys will be unpaired, and these guys will be the paired, okay? And the square will be rotated. We're going to rotate, so that makes the dancers get the feeling of being able to dance all over the floor. That's why invert and rotate is so important to new callers, especially sight callers that have trouble moving the dancers around. For God's sake, they got to use invert and rotate.
And
chicken plucker.
It also means inside to outside, outside to inside, and rotate them around to a different quadrant.
It's kind of like magic. Star through, pass through, bend the line, and star through. Now, it's a zero. They're still at their corner, but look what happened. The other people are paired up. Okay? Now, watch this. We all know that a circulate is a zero if we do how many of them? 2. Watch this. Swing through. Would anybody bet $500 that that's a zero as well if I did one circulate? Anybody want to bet me? A zero to me would mean that if I can spin the top here, slide through, I should be able to do a circulate, then still be able to do a spin the top, slide through, element left, right? And that's what it means to me. Is that what it means to you? We know right now if I did a spin the top, slide, we can slide through, element left, right? Yeah?
Show them. Remember where you are right now. Go.
Spin the top.
Spin the top.
Slide through. Element left.
Proper element.
Okay, come back in that ocean way where you were.
Go back to where you were.
All right. This is that one exception to the rule where we're always taught that circulates, you got to do 2 of them to zero things out. This is a neat thing to know when you're in ocean waves, and anytime you've got 2 people paired in this ocean wave, and two people aren't paired in that ocean wave, you can do an invert here and rotate. And here we go. Circulate. Now, it unpaired the two that were paired and vice versa, right? So if our theory is correct, I should still be able to do a spin the top. Right, spin the top, slide through, Alaman left.
Now that's a $400 knowledge thing, y'all.
Let me tell you what, we charge a lot of money for that stuff right there. All right. Now squirm up. That's a big thing to remember. It was a long time in my career before the light came on for me, and once that did, it changed the complexion of things a lot in my calling. Let's go on to one more. What time we got to go? We got plenty of time? All right.
Jerry, while you're looking, let me set one up. Head step in the center and turn and face your corner. All right, we're going to do the old simple invert and rotate. Slide through, pass through, bend the line, slide through. The exact same thing that Jerry just got through doing. He does it with tag the lines. I do it sometimes this way. I do it with tag the line. Disguise it. Switch it around, back and forth. Figure out what you can or cannot do. All right, I want to do the same get out that Jerry used just a minute ago, but I've got to put a little action into it, okay? I'm going to do a slide through. Do that first. And a right and a left through. And this is where I was before I did the last slide through. So I'm going to do a pass the ocean. Well, I'm not ready to do an all eight. Go ahead, pass the ocean. I'm not ready to do an all eight circulate once and a half to get out. Ready? Scoot back. Scoot back again. Balance. All eight circulate once and a half. Slide through and you're home.
Just to make sure we get this in before I want to go on and do another one like we just did, but I want to go over a few of these ways that you can see where the dancers are at any given moment. Mix them up, Rich.
I'll repeat it. Heads lead right.
Circle left halfway. Veer left.
Veer left.
Couple circulate. Chain down the line. Turn that girl.
Are they mixed?
Okay.
Wow.
Anytime this is one of them things where I call it, he's got my girl and I got his girl. When I see this across the street from each other like I do now, remember I was talking about pairings? Pairings don't have to be beside you. Pairings can be in front of you. They can be diagonally from you. We'll show you one of those in just a minute. Anytime I see this, I mean, you're home free. Chain the ladies and you got a zero line. Okay? Now, bend the line. Anytime that I see it in the line, now I see the I got his girl, he's got my thing going on. We see this all the time as sight callers. If you start looking for this when you're calling, I guarantee you'll see this probably 100 times a night while you're calling. But unless somebody stops you and says, hey, why don't you take a look at this? There's a lot of good stuff right here that we can do out of this line. Okay? So when I see a line of 4 and I see the girls transposed in that line, I know that if I chain the ladies now, chain the ladies, I'm going to have an opposite lady line. Now here's the deal. This is a true opposite lady line. Yeah? It's a primary opposite lady line. No matter if we bend the line, tag the line, whatever we got to do, it's not going to change things. It's going to be a primary opposite lady line. Yeah?
What does the word primary mean?
Primary means that everybody has their right hand, their opposite lady. Everybody's got their opposite lady right now. Okay? So if everybody's got their opposite lady, that would be primary. All right? Chain the ladies. Now, anytime you chain the ladies from a primary, it's going to create 2 phasers out of the deal. Now, we just chained the ladies over, right? So at some point or another, we have to see a partner relationship too. Where's the partner relationship? It goes back in the line now, doesn't it? See it? Now there's 2 phasers going on. Here's a partner phaser. All right, chain the ladies. Here's a corner phaser going on here. Well, once you understand this, and this is the toughest one, square your sets. Mix them up for me, will you, Stephen?
Heads lead right. Star through. Pass through. Wheel and deal. Centers wheel around.
Cool. All right. So the first thing we want to do is look for pairings. Now he's got them about as far away as you could possibly get. Yep. No problem. You start looking for pairings. Pass through. Trade by. Do you see any pairings?
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Slide through. All right. Touch a quarter. Circulate. Boys run around the girls. Now, there's 4 places I told you that they could possibly be, right? Star through. You got a line of 4. If I cut this square in 2, if you're a sight caller right now, your paired couple, you're going to know that your corner's not here. You're watching number 1 and 4, right? So if you're going around and you're sight calling, and you're in a box of 4, and your corner is not here, but your paired couple, you got your paired couple. Here's 4. You see your pairings, but I'm teaching you to look at pairings across the street from you. So when you see this right here, you should know exactly where you are. You're a half a chicken plucker away. You're on the other side of the street having dinner. You're over at the neighbor's house. And you're going to go back home now and have dinner at your own house. Past the ocean. And circulate. Nothing more than the back half of a chicken plucker to take them back to their corner. All right? Square your sets. Got something, John?
If you want me to. Whatever.
Yeah, Randy.
Get on the mic.
Randy Doherty, can you go into more depth? I don't know if everybody sees the disguise of the chicken plucker that you did. You know, you do Ferris wheels and you did Pass the Ocean and Circulate.
Sure. That, like the last part of that was a chicken plucker, is what he was saying. I want to go back and just and run just a couple more of these by you. How you can see this in an instant while you're calling, because that's the big thing. If you can see it while you're calling.
On the mic, please.
Can you do 6 chicken pluckers in a row that we won't recognize, but they're all really chicken pluckers?
Well, I don't know if I could or not.
Fatigue sometimes jumps in. You do 2 and I'll do 3. Go ahead.
Head square through 2. I don't know what you want to call a chicken plucker. You can do back halves of chicken pluckers.
That's half a chicken plucker right there.
Everybody swing through. Circulate. Swing through.
That's the other half.
Okay? So there's all kinds of ways you can disguise it. And basically what you want to realize, that chicken plucker just means going across the street. In other words, to make callers understand that it's not fun to do 25 calls in the same little box. If you're doing that, stop. It's not fun. I don't like it. You go out and dance to somebody that does 25 calls in the same box. Would you want to go back and dance to him? I wouldn't. That's what we're talking about.
That's 2. No, that's 1. That's 2 halves.
Recycle. It's hard to please you. Pass through. Trade by. There's one. Star through. Pass through. Bend the line. Pass through. Tag the line. Face out. Bend the line. Star through. There's another one. Clear over on the other side of the street. You were over here, you see. I just worked you over to the other side. You can use circulates. That's a great one. Just a veer left couple circulate would be a chicken plucker if you want to look at it like that. Veer left. Couple circulate. Same thing as pass through trade by. Ferris wheel. Centers pass through. All right. So you're getting the drift. Circulates is one of your best friends. Couple circulates, all 8 circulates, tag the lines. Anything that's going to throw you over to the other side. Mix that in with the inverts and rotates, and those are your tools to move the dancers around the floor. But if you don't have the meat and potatoes to go along with it, and that's the theming, you should have and that takes a lot of tools. You should have something to use with every call on the basic list or on the mainstream list. You should have something in your repertoire that you can feature as a theme. That would be a good goal. And then you've got a whole toolbox of tools. Shut up.
That's enough.
Square your sets.
Killing time.
All right.
Write your own, Rich.
All right, let's take a look at another get out, or another theme. Let's say scoot back once and a half would be a theme. That's kind of cool. All right, and let's see. Let's have the head square through 2. All right. The setup's going to be a right-hand lady arrangement, and we're going to follow them around the square. And in 3 different quadrants. Touch a quarter. Now we're going to insert the theme. Scoot back once and a half. Girls, your parts are right-hand touch a quarter. Go get a boy. Bend the line and reverse flutter. Did you get her back? All right, that's 1 quadrant then, right? Pass through. Tag the line. Face out. Bend the line. We're in a new quadrant. Slide through. Touch a quarter. Scoot back once and a half. Girls, your part's going to be a right hand touch a quarter. Get that boy. Bend the line. Reverse the flutter. You got her back? Let's go on to another quadrant then. Pass through. Wheel and deal. Centers wheel around. Face the pair behind you. You're in the 3rd quadrant. Touch a quarter. Scoot back once and a half. Girls, I'm not going to tell you this time that your part's a right-hand touch a quarter. Bend the line. So it's get out time. We did our job. We themed it. And I'm kind of over-exaggerating this point of having to theme in 3 places. I mean, you don't have to follow this script, but you have to move the dancers around the floor. So, and a lot of times you can do it just that quick. What did that take? A whole 15 seconds, 20 seconds maybe? Of a tip to do that one little spurt. Then we're going to work for the get out. So is it a 2 or a 4? How do we know that? They're on the outside, so I don't have to check sequence. And to me, that is such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. That's the hardest thing to do when you're calling, and that's where you'll screw up most of your time. You'll be promenading along, and one of your dancers will do this at you, won't they? Because they know, but you didn't know, right? Well, to me, that takes that completely out of the equation. And
to make sure that you understand what Jerry's talking about, if your paired people are on the outside, you're in sequence. If your unpaired people are on the outside, you're out of sequence. It's just that simple.
But you don't have to know sequence. You don't really have to know whether they're in or out. All you got to do is trust the system. If they're on the outside, it's going to be a 4. Right and left through. Now, back to Rich's thing. Instead, we're talking about the chicken pluckers. Now, we know that we can square through 2, trade by. We can square through 2, right to the partner, pull by. We could star through, pass through, trade by. Or we could pass the ocean and circulate. Do the same thing. Especially when you get over there, if you want to do something in waves, better than star through, pass through, trade by. Why not go ahead and pass the ocean? Go ahead, please. Circulate. All right? And you're right back in your ocean wave, ready to do whatever you want. Circulate again, once and a half. Meet your partner, slide through. We never did finish that, did we? Did we? Yeah, that was it. That was it.
Or from that ocean wave that was on the other side, you could have done a scoot back and then a half circulate to a right and left grant. Right. And then you
exactly.
Rotate.
All right, let's do another one. The get out's going to be circulate once and a half to a right and left grand or your home. And the station has to be a right-hand lady station with a specific in a specific geographic location. And the perfect tip would be to feature something in at least 2 quadrants, 3 if possible, and engineer the proper station to launch the get out. So we're going to use for our theme this time, spin the top. And let's have the head square through 2. What did I do? I went right to the right-hand lady to get started, didn't I? And if most people are going to do spin the top after a swing through, then what's Jerry probably going to do? Anything but that. Exactly. Now, I might have had to workshop this a little bit more, but these guys are trained professionals, so they will have no trouble. But you're still going to have to help any Florida dancers probably if you're going to do spin the tops without doing a swing through first here in America. We know that that's a fact of life in most clubs around there today. So if you're going to do something different, make sure you give them a lot of help, all right? Hey, let's spin the top. Turn the girl you're looking at by the right. Boys 3/4, the girls move up. Boys run. Bend the line. Circle to a line. Does he still have his right-hand lady with him? Are you watching? You see what we've done? This right-hand lady's still there, yeah? And we're going to go for our theme now, because I'm in a new quadrant. The girl you're looking at, guys, spin the top, turn right. Boys 3/4 and the girl move up. Boy run, bend the line, reverse flutter. I just paired them back up, didn't I? Everybody following along? Pass through. I'm going to another quadrant. Looks like tag the line, face out, bend the line, pass the ocean. You know what? We're back where we started. We're across the street, right-hand lady station. Remember I said that that's where this get out started from? Well, let's set up the get out then. Girls trade, swing through. We just set up the get out. Launch the get out. Circulate 1.5. Box the net. Wrong way grand. Meet your partner. Slide through. And you're home. All right? Now, once again, you can take this and expand on that as much as you want. Let's do this. Let's have the sides right and left through. And the heads step in and face your corner. Now, we just found out that get out starts in a right-hand lady station. So I made a right-hand lady station, but what did I do? I rotated it halfway, didn't I? Still a right-hand lady station. So if I want to work for that get out, I know that the get out is in an ocean wave, step to a wave. Let's just say that I've already done we've danced them around. We're just concentrating on we already themed it and all that. Swing through. Boys trade. Boys run. Bend the line. Just to prove it to you, I got these guys paired up. I'm watching these guys again, all right? Right and left through. We're just dancing then. And I want to put them back in that ocean wave. Past the ocean. There's where I want to be. Right-hand lady, ocean wave, half stirred. Now to set up that get out, girls trade and everybody swing through. And from here, everybody circulate 1.25. Quarter in. And you're home. But that's how you're going to get these get outs, is to know where they start. So you have to engineer them. And that's the manipulation part. It's the controlled resolution and manipulation. You have to manipulate the squares. Put them where you want them. All right? Got time for one more?
It was today.
Okay, from another right-hand lady station. Head square through 2. Again, we're at the right-hand lady. You're a real pain in the ass. You know that? Thanks. Absolutely. Swing through. Boys run. Bend the line. Now, every sight caller in the world should know this line. You should have your name tattooed all over it. This is the sight caller's line. This is where you pass through, wheel and deal, and if the pairs are in the middle, you'd zoom. If they're not, you'd either pass through or what? Square through 3, right? Right and left through. Once again, this is a sight caller's dream. This is what we look for as sight callers. So, I remember I said in the beginning that we can incorporate the skills that we already have into the CraMS system. Well, this was one perfect example. This is Deborah's line. You know, she's found a long time ago that this is the line that sight callers look all over the world, all over the square for, and it's been right in front of us all this time. It's right here. Now, this is the same place that you could do Dixie Grand from. Yeah? Remember what I said, that there was 2 phasers going on when you don't have a primary? Watch this. Chain your ladies for me. Now there's 4 stations on the floor right now, and then 4 only. Everybody has their right-hand lady beside them. So there can only be 4 and 4 only. You follow that? All right. knowing that this box of 4 is a right-hand lady station. Chain the ladies. I didn't change anything, guys. They're over here at the right-hand lady's house having dinner. And there's a coffee table here, and there's a couch here and a couch here, and they were talking to each other, and the girls decided, hey, I'll go over there and talk to your guy, and you come over here and talk to mine. It didn't change anything. The components of a right-hand lady phaser are still here within this box of 4. However, it also created another phaser that site callers have never known about. How about in the line now? It changes to a corner. There's 2 phasers going on. This box is a right-hand lady box, but this line is a corner line. So you know where you're at all the time. If you want to play with your corner, you'd bend the line. If you want to play with your right-hand lady, you got her. You're here and ready to go and ready to launch the get-outs. Question?
I guess I don't see why you say this is a corner line.
Where's your corner? My corner is beside me. Exactly.
There you go. You just answered your own question.
Where's his corner? In the same line with him.
Watch what
Correct.
happens now. Okay. If my theory holds true, then if this is a corner line, bend the line. Now the right-hand lady phaser should be over here, and the corner phaser is here, correct? Okay. Then if my theory holds true, if we chain the ladies, then we should all have our corner, chain the ladies, and it goes to a primary corner line. Everybody has their corner, you see. Chain them back. Now it's secondary. All the components of your corner line are still here. It's just that they just change places for a little bit. Bend the lines, and let's go back to this situation here. This is also what we call a Dixie-Grand line. A Dixie-Grand setup is a paired couple in the middle with the unpaireds behind and the corner behind. So if you've got a line of 4 like this with the corner in your line, then you can see if you pass through wheel and deal, that's going to be the Dixie-Grand setup. This is if I'm talking to Randy or John or anybody, if I say to them, okay, we got a Dixie-Grand line, they know immediately I'm talking about this line right here. And if you don't know this line, you should learn it first. Put it in your repertoire. It's a good line. May I ask a question? Sure.
So when I'm site calling, I need 3 pieces of information to resolve. I need to know my primary pair, I need to know my corner pair, and I need to know the corner relationship. So I need 3 pieces of information. And I would maintain that you would, in this system, also need to know 3 pieces of information. So my question is, what 3 things do you know that you can resolve?
You know the exact same 3 things. You don't have to change that one bit. The only thing that we're adding is that 4th person over on the other side over there that we've all forgotten about. We just know her as well. But don't change the 3 that you already know.
See, from here, what site callers would do here, unless they had memorized get-outs from right here, a site caller would pass through, wheel and deal, zoom, and then look to see if it's a pass-through or a square-through 3. As a CraMS caller, we're asking you to look before that. Way before that, we're asking you to know where this line is and intentionally go and set it up. Now, callers have said, but I can't remember that line. No, you'll never remember it either unless you go home, intentionally set it up, and put a get out to go with it. Like this, touch a quarter. Circulate 1.5. Girls trade. Girls, you turn back. Alaman left your corner. Square your sets. All right, just for Rich. Heads past the ocean. Extend. How's that? All right. Girls trade. Recycle. Sweep a quarter. Right and left through. And we put them right back in the Dixie-Grand line. Yeah? Now you can take this one get out. And here's another thing to remember. If you're going to go home and write get outs, you'll notice that in these sheets that I take one theory and expand on it and make 3 or 4 get outs out of one. You see. So with this same theory, touch a quarter, circulate 1.5, girls trade. Now I know if the girls faced in or if they did a U-turn back, I could element left here. But if you want to play around a little bit, girls slide apart. And boys in your diamond circulate twice. Girls in your big box of 4 circulate twice. All the boys do a U-turn back, grand right and left. So you take one get out, and build on that one get out and make 3 or 4 get outs. All right? Any questions?
May I?
Yes, please.
Very, very simple type situations. Heads again, step to the center and turn and face your corner. And we're starting out in here. Who can tell me the magic module to get from a 0 box to a 0 line? Swing through. What? Swing through. Girl circulate. Boy trade. Boy run. What? Bend the line. Who can tell me the magic module to get back to a 0 box? Touch a quarter. Circulate. Boy run. Very good. Right and left through. We took them out of sequence. Let's do the magic module. Swing through. Girl circulate. Boy trade. Boy run. Bend the line. Who did we get then?
Again, manipulating the square.
Manipulating the square with a known situation that I know. They went to the opposite lady and they're out of sequence because I took them out of sequence before I started it. Okay? Slide through, pass through, trade by, slide through. Do I have them in a 0 line? Somebody said no. Guess again. You got another choice. You can usually be 50%. And you have a choice. The magic module to get from a 0 line to a 0 box with a touch a quarter, circulate, boy run. Am I right? Yes. Say yes, John. Thank you very much. Let's take them out of sequence, right and left through. I took them out of sequence. If I do that same magic module, watch what happens. Touch a quarter, circulate, boy run, and I'm looking at my right-hand lady. I don't have to check a flipping thing. I know that's where they are. But I also know that they are what? Out of sequence, because I took them out of sequence to start with, and they're still out of sequence. All right? Slide through. I know that I've got my right-hand lady for a partner, but I know that I'm out of sequence. Is it a 4 or 2? Square through 2. Right to your partner and you pull her by and alley man left. And come back in a right and a left grand and a hand over hand and you should be home. Now that same setup. Head step to the center and turn and face your corner. I'm going to invert and rotate. Tell me. Slide through. Pass through. Bend the line. Slide through. Centers in. I've still got the same setup. Just looks different. All 8 circulate once and a half and slide through and you're home. Same thing. You can do it the other way. That line that I had set up was an ends in inverted line. You can set it up, do a slide through and spread, which would give you an ends out inverted line, and you can circulate once and a half and you'd be back home. Half sashay them over there on that other side, both of them, and you can circulate once and a quarter and face in and you're home. Sight callers don't know that. They ain't never thought about it. I know because I was one for a very long. I still am. I have not abandoned my sight calling situation at all. It's just that I have enhanced it with these known situations and knowing where I am darn near all the time. Anybody got any questions or anything? Here we have it, Jerry. We're going to break here in just a minute.
So, the success of using the system rests on being able to see what kind of line you have on the fly. I mean, if it's an L1, and if so, why not have a series of snapshot get-outs from different positions?
Definitely.
Wouldn't that be sort of the same thing you're doing? You're just seeing.
Yes. That's the ultimate goal, for you to write, and you figure it out on your own, and you write your own stuff of your get-outs from the different stations that Jerry's talking about. Rich.
I was just going to say there's one more piece, because once you get one station, instead of dictating the snapshot get out from there, you can say, I want to do a snapshot get out from somewhere else and be able to go from station to station, knowing all the way.
You move it to where you want it.
That's a good point.
Yes. Any questions or comments from anyone? Over here, run the mic over to Jim. Who are you?
Tom Sellner from Maryland. Now, I think this works, so bear with me. When you have this corner partner, stations, everybody has that. Seems to me that if you are in the 2 position for this, that then an easy get out is that if you have the corner, what you have to do is go 1 position, or in other words, a star through will get you there. Star through pass through would be a partner if you had the partner. A star through pass through trade by would be the right hand lady, and then of course you have the opposite be all the way down. So there's a get out for all 4 that you guys can take home.
That's the part of CraMS called mental image.
On the mic.
That's the part of CraMS that's mental image, and that's all mental image was slotting. You're either with your right hand lady, you're with your opposite lady, you're with your corner, or you're with your partner, going down the row, one or the other. And that's how we learned to call. When Randy and I started calling, they insisted that we knew that. And boy, what a powerful tool that is, because that way you can recognize these things that we're showing you today. But if you've never worked it, we've been doing this for 35 years.
Let Randy make a comment, and then we got to adjourn.
We're doing the right-hand lady line where we do the square through 4 or square through 2, depending on if you're in or out of sequence. If you know that get out, square through 2, and a right to your partner, pull by, and Alaman left, just realize when you see a corner line out of sequence that you can do that same get out. A corner line, and if you're out of sequence, square through 2, right to the next pull by, Alaman left with who? Is it your real corner? Hey, you're doing it with your right-hand lady. So then you do a right and left grand, and on your third hand, you're home. That's the beauty of this, is knowing where you are all the time. And like you say, you realize you're in a Dixie Grand line, you're in a right-hand lady line, you're in a corner line. You can mix match all your get-outs around. You double your material, you triple your material.
Randy, may I ask you, within the last 2 years, what has it done to your calling?
Well, I tried to do a whole tape of CraMS where I was doing more mental imagery at home, and I made some mistakes on it. But where it has really improved, I think, is on my singing calls. Have you ever been calling along and all of a sudden you look and you thought, what did I just call? Now, I know where I'm at and who I have. Every time I'm doing a singing call, I hardly ever get lost on the singing calls anymore. And before, I used to take a nap. And I'd leave them out of sequence or whatever. I hardly ever have that happen. So my singing calls became better. I had more material. I know how to move the people and the dancers around a lot more and have more creativity. A lot of people say, well, you're restricted to this.
If you want to learn more about it, we have a caller school over in Pride near Asheville, North Carolina, Maggie Valley, North Carolina, Jerry and Deborah and Tony and I, and we do CraMS for a whole week. Now, how about a nice hand for our dancers, please? Would you thank them for them? Thank you so very much. Nice hand for Jerry Story. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Thank you all for being here.
It's great. I'm glad you enjoyed it.